My name is Katie Carter, and I live in a small town in Northern California. I have two children, and I even have a new grandchild, so you can imagine that I'm in my 60s. When I was 56, I decided to go back to school, and I chose Hawthorn University, mainly because it was online, but I'd heard so many good things about it, and a good friend of mine also was enrolled in the program. I just love what I'm doing, so my enthusiasm really shines through.
Welcome to Hawthorn University's All About Alumni series. This is where we get to hear directly from our graduates about the exciting things they're doing professionally post-graduation to inspire us too. I'm excited to be here. I'm Paula Bartholomew. I'm delighted that you've joined me for All About Alumni. I'll be the moderator today, and we meet with Tarah Chieffi, who graduated from Hawthorn's Master's in Health and Nutrition Education program just a year ago. In 2015, she graduated on the President's List with a 4.0 GPA. That's pretty impressive. And I asked Tarah to present, and she wants to talk with us about breaking into the world of health and wellness, which I think is a great topic to focus on for all of us. Tarah says that even after discovering that someone wants to help others find health and happiness, that there's a really vast number of career paths that, and it can seem overwhelming, or you might not be aware of them at all. So after deciding to return to school to receive her master's degree, Tarah didn't know exactly what she wanted to do when she graduated. She just knew that she had a passion for nutrition and inspiring others. And so we're going to talk today about the health and wellness careers that are possible to choose from, and the steps that you can take right now, even if you're still in school, to hone in more a little bit on your career path and really get noticed in the world of health and wellness. And that's certainly what Tarah did very effectively. So hello, Tarah. Welcome. I'm really excited to be here together.
Me too. Thank you very much for having me. I always only have good things to say about Hawthorn, so I'm happy to be able to share.
Fantastic. Well, I typically when I do webinars, I typically do the introductions for the presenters, but I think it'd be interesting to hear everybody hear you introduce yourself, because as graduates, we all need to introduce ourselves professionally at some point or another.
Yes.
And so I'm going to give you an opportunity right now.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, again, I'm Tarah Chieffi. I am a little bit of everything right now. I'm a blogger, a freelance writer. I'm a nutrition educator, which includes some one-on-one coaching, some group coaching. I'm also doing some nutrition education for our local Head Start program, which is like a preschool program for 4- and 5-year-olds. And got my little family here. I've been married to my husband Kevin for about 5 years. We have a 2-year-old son, almost 3, named Avery, and we've got another one on the way. So we're in a little bit of a transition right now, which I'll actually talk a little bit about today because it does have some to do with some of the projects I'm working on where I'm able to focus, knowing that I'm going to be having to spend a little bit of time out of the full-time workforce in a few months. But my blog is what I gather. I do a lot of recipes, a lot of healthy living tips, a little peek into my life, kind of how we make a healthy lifestyle work in the real world. I also, like I said, have my one-on-one and group coaching, and my freelance writing. I do some for local publications. We have a local magazine here called the Southern Indiana Fitness Source. It's free and it's available at a lot of local gyms and health food stores, and I write a couple of articles for them bi-monthly when they publish. And I recently became a contributor for Pop Sugar, which is an online publication. It's a national group though, and I have written just a couple articles so far, but health related, pregnancy related, kind of whatever strikes me as something that I want to share.
Interesting name though, Pop Sugar.
Yeah, Well, I think they're kind of, it's a pop culture type thing, so
Mhm.
I think that's where it came from. So they have a pop sugar health, a pop sugar fitness, a pop sugar celebrity, pop sugar moms. Um,
Got
I'm
it.
not very up on the celebrity news, so I stick more in the moms and the health and fitness category.
All right, good for you.
So that's me in a nutshell. And really, I just want to focus a lot today on how you really can start narrowing down and learning about all of these career choices while you're still in school. You don't have to wait until you graduate to start making these connections, to get your name out in the local community and, you know, even looking bigger than that, online in the national community, so that you're really positioning yourself to be successful after graduation.
Mhm.
Um, and, you know, just don't worry so much about exactly what you want to do while you're still in school, because this is a great time that you can sort of put your hands into a little bit of everything and see everything that there is to choose from, and you know, then kind of narrow it down from there.
All right. Well, is there more that you want to say, Tara, about, we could start with what influenced your decision to return to school and get a master's degree in health and nutrition education?
Yeah, I really never thought I was going to go back to school. I remember saying it after I graduated that I was so done with school. I didn't hate my undergrad degree, but I didn't. It wasn't an enjoyable experience because I just didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. My degree is in equine administration um, from the University of Louisville Business School, which I have no background in horses. I had no reason for doing it. I just had no idea what I wanted to do, and it sounded interesting, so I did it. But I did absolutely nothing with that degree. Um, so I kind of bounced around from job to job. I worked at a bank. I worked at a graphic design agency, and nothing ever seemed totally like the right fit. I had fun. I enjoyed my jobs, but it still didn't feel like what I wanted to do with my life. The only thing I ever really knew was that I wanted to help people in some way, feel like I was making a difference, but
Mhm.
I didn't really know how to do that or what that meant. Um, and it wasn't until I met my husband, and we actually met while we were training for the bike ride that I'm showing a picture of here. Um, I trained for a 150-mile, 2-day bike ride, so 75 miles one day, and then 75 miles if you wanted to get home the next day. Um, and while training for that, obviously I was doing a lot of long rides, and I really started to notice that when I ate better, I was able to perform better. And I had never been into healthy eating. I mostly was, you know, frozen dinners and a lot of candy, a lot of sweets. I just didn't really think about it. Um, and when I started to make that connection, I got a lot more interested in healthy eating. And we obviously went on to get married, and after a few years together, we discovered the paleo diet. We don't really follow that anymore, but we did for a few years, and it was a really good introduction for me to just how much what you eat can affect your health and your well-being. So while we don't do it anymore, I still really value it as a learning experience for us. And obviously we still, you know, eat really healthy, try to eat as much real food as possible, just maybe not quite as stringent with the rules as a paleo diet is. But after eating this way for maybe 6 months or a year, I was really inspired to start my blog, What I Gather. And what you see here is my old blog, my old website, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. But I really just wanted to share with people that healthy eating, it didn't have to be expensive, didn't have to take a ton of time at the grocery store or in the kitchen, that there were really healthy, delicious recipes that you could make, and it didn't have to be super difficult. And, you know, then I started doing more health articles, and I really enjoyed blogging. I enjoyed sharing that, putting it out there, and I did feel like I was kind of helping people, making a difference. You know, if I got a comment that somebody loved one of my recipes, you know, it always made me feel really good to know that I was reaching people. And as I continued with that, you know, it really just helped me realize that I did want to make health and nutrition my life, but I still didn't really know how. You know, I felt like I had already gone to school. I didn't really know what to do from there. But I started researching schools and looked at quite a few before settling on Hawthorn. It really seemed like the best fit for me. You know, I was able to do it online, do it on my own time. And I really liked that, and this is not to knock any other schools, but the essence of the program was on nutrition education. There is a, you know, I learned a little bit about starting my business and what that could look like, but that was one class that I took. Every class outside of that I took was really on the nutrition education component, and that was really important to me. So I you know, started school and, you know, continued blogging and really didn't expect so much to come up, so many opportunities while I was in school, but because I stayed active in the community and continued blogging and continued writing, I really had a chance to start my career while I was still working on my degree. And I was working full-time at that time as well, you know, doing other things while I was still in school. So, you know, that's why I think it's so important to talk about what we're talking about today. So a little bit more about the blog real quick, since what you're seeing here, this is my original blog, which was done on Blogger. It's a free platform through Google. It's a really quick and easy and free way to start a website, but when, as you can see when you look at it, I mean, it looks like a blog. It doesn't look like a professional website. So now I have my new website, which this is just a screen cap from, but I think it's a lot more professional looking. There's a lot more customization that I can do, and this is through WordPress.org. So you do have to pay a monthly hosting fee and to get it started, but there's just so much more you can do with it. It's a lot more professional. It's more of a business website than a blog that's just for fun. So I would highly recommend, and I am going to talk about websites a bit today, that anybody that is starting a website, I would just go for it and start on WordPress, because the process of transitioning from one site to the other was quite painful and time-consuming.
Well, it looks like you did a really good job, and you know, you have to start somewhere, and you
Yes.
started with what you could do on your own, and once you discovered more, you made something more beautiful and more professional. So really well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I know, and it's a fantastic blog. I enjoy following it. So, you know, let's get into this a little bit more. What other kind of opportunities came up for you while you were in school? And you know, you continued blogging, but let's get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so while I was in school, I still, you know, I tried to blog every week, you know, at least once a week, and it brought along a lot of opportunities to write guest posts for other people's websites or their online magazines. And this is purely from being a part of, you know, at the time I was mostly a part of the paleo community, but just by being a part of that community, and just people knowing that I existed, you know, I would get that email reaching out to me every once in a while, or I would see, you know, a post on Facebook that somebody was looking for contributors. And because I had my own blog posts, I could direct them back to my website. They could see examples of my work, and it made it really easy for me to make those connections. So, you know, I got to write for, you know, Paleo Magazine. There were a couple other smaller paleo magazines that were just online publications, and they don't always pay, but it's really, really good exposure, especially when you're just getting started. So, you know, they had a much bigger audience than my own, but that helped, you know, pull people back to my site as well, so that it helped my exposure too. And then some of the exposure I received was more organic than that. You know, for that I had to reach out to people, or maybe they reached out to me. But locally, for example, the CrossFit gym that we attend, they knew that we were into the paleo diet, and the owner there, he really wanted to start doing some nutrition seminars. You know, people were really good about getting into the gym 4 or 5 times a week, but they didn't really have that nutrition component. So he asked me to lead a few paleo nutrition seminars. Again, when I was in school, I usually did these for free, or after a while I started charging a small fee when I would go around to other local gyms, but at first I did all of this for free, which I highly encourage. I think especially in the beginning, it's fine to give things away a little bit because it's going to make those connections for you and get your name out in the community. Because then, by doing that at our gym, he started recommending me to other local gyms who wanted to do something similar. And even when I did start charging a fee, it was much less than what somebody normally would charge, maybe that wasn't a student or that was more well established. And then from there, kind of also through the owner of my CrossFit gym, he was writing for the Southern Indiana Fitness Source, which I now write for as well. And it was really because they were searching for a new freelancer to cover some health topics. He recommended me. They emailed me, we introduced, and now I write 2 columns for them, which I have just one of them pulled up here. One that I do, it's loading here, is called Enjoy Avoid. And so every other month when they are published, I'll do a healthy recipe and I'll compare it with something that you could buy at a restaurant or at a store. And so I'll create the recipe, somebody comes and takes photos, and then they publish the recipe and they publish the comparison of the healthy recipe and the item that you could buy at the store or at a restaurant. So that's really, really fun for me to do.
They send a professional photographer out to
yeah,
take
well, they're owned by the local newspaper, so they'll have somebody from the newspaper. He comes to my house and shoots it. It's a lot easier than trying to transport all of the food.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so, and then my other article that I write, they pretty much let me choose. There's usually a few themes each month, and so based on whatever the theme that month is, I'll try to choose something that fits with that theme. So that's, something that only came up because I was kind of putting myself out there in the community. I also, at the time, what felt like a pretty big deal, because I was blogging, I wrote all throughout my pregnancy. I wrote about pregnancy a lot. I wrote updates each trimester, but also wrote about cravings and morning sickness. And I wrote a particular post after I had my first son, Avery, about how I felt about my body after having a baby, kind of, having that positive attitude. I think a lot of times you see negative talk about women's bodies after they have a baby. And just because I had written that post, somebody from the Today Show was wanting to write this story about, women that loved their post-baby bodies, and probably Googled something and found my blog. And so then I was able to be interviewed for that article, and I was able to be a part of an article that was on thetodayshow.com, which this is the article there, and then the Daily Mail, which is similar type of online publication, but in the UK, wanted to do a similar article, and so picked up the same thing. I got to be interviewed again for that one. So I thought, at the time, that was something that was really fun that I got to do, that, things that I just never would have had the opportunity to do if I hadn't been writing, putting myself out there while I was still in school. And then obviously the big one, which kind of also came about from somebody just searching on Google for, what they needed to fill a space for, and finding me because I had been putting that information out there online. Around this same time, I knew that I wanted to write a book. I was really interested in the idea of writing a book. I've always really liked writing. And I hadn't seen any paleo pregnancy books. But I knew that it would probably not be long before something like that was out there. Paleo was really big at the time, and I knew that, I needed to strike while the iron was hot, so to speak. So I wrote a book proposal and, started shopping it around a little bit. I didn't have any immediate interest. Some people talked about potentially doing something like that in the future, but I didn't have anything immediate, but at the same time, I was contacted by a publisher who already had an idea for a book, the Everything Paleo Pregnancy book, and they needed an author. So they just went out and Googled paleo pregnancy and found my website. And, because of that, I was able to communicate with them, sign a contract, and had the opportunity to write this book that nobody would have known I existed if I didn't have this online presence. And it's available on Amazon. It's in bookstores. I've gone into bookstores just to look for it before and see if it was on the shelves.
It's on my shelf.
And it was a lot of work. I think I even took a small couple-month break from school because it was a very tight deadline, so that I could finish it up in time. But it was just something I felt like I couldn't pass up either. It was such a great opportunity. And also to say there, though, a lot of this so far that I've talked about has come about because of my blog. And I know blogging isn't necessarily for everybody either. Some people maybe just aren't as comfortable putting themselves out there, or don't feel that they have the time for it. But even if you're not blogging, just having some sort of online presence, just having a basic website, about your nutrition coaching, or just about what you're interested in, and just making sure that that's updated and professional looking. Even just having that, people can find you that way. And I'll talk a little bit more later too about some ways that people can get connected in the community. But I do think having some type of website so people know who you are and what you're about is really important.
Yeah, I agree. And your blog is well done, and you've got some really great points and great opportunities that have emerged because of this. Writing on something that you were going through with your pregnancy, things that you were interested in, things that you were learning, and sharing that with others. It's very nice. Are there any other tips that you want to share about running and maintaining a successful and engaging blog?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's very important to keep it up to date. And I'll actually, let me pull up my website here, because there are some important things. So I'll just go to my homepage here for a second. But definitely having some information about yourself. So I have a whole about page and making sure that that's front and center where people can see it. So on my about page, people can learn a lot about me, about my approach to health, what I'm interested in, kind of a little bit of my background, because especially if you're trying to take clients online, if somebody's going to work with you one-on-one, they've got to kind of know and trust you before they're going to do that. So, I give people a chance to get to know me. And, my food philosophy, I've included that there, because you're not going to be for everybody. But, if you're putting yourself out there, you're going to be for somebody. And that's fine. You don't have to be for everybody, because, we're all different and have different things that we need. Making sure that there's a really easy way for people to contact you. And also highlighting anything that you have done. So, so I have a contact form, so it makes it really easy for people to get in touch with me. But I also have this media tab down here at the bottom, and I give them an opportunity to contact me, but I try to keep a running list of everywhere that I've written or that I've been featured, because people are going to want to see that. If they're
Sure.
contacting you about potentially writing for them, they're going to want, and podcasts I've been on, speaking events that I've done, they're going to want to see what you've done, so they can get an idea of who you are and if you're going to be a good fit for them. So I think that that's important too. Anything that you've done locally, anything you've written online, make sure that you've got that somewhere where you can either have it on a website or easily share it with people. And then also the blogging, I think it is a really important component, just because it keeps people coming back to your website if you always have new information for them. Like I said, I know blogging is not for everybody, but even if you're not doing it weekly, even if you were just doing it monthly. And, you know, it can be recipes, it can be health articles, it can be, you know, even what you're learning in school, something that you learn, interesting that you learned in school. Um, so this is just the recipe section, but, you know, have it separated out into different sections so, you know, people can find what they're looking for. So that's another big thing, is you really want it to be easy for people to find what they need. And then, you know, having those social media profiles too. So being active on Facebook, or you don't have to do all of them, but Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Pinterest, you know, whatever it is. I don't think you have to spend all your time being on every social media outlet, but you know, anything that you can do that's going to have you in front of more people is going to be helpful.
All right, great. Thank you. So you were, I know I sidetracked you just a little bit more to expand on the blog a little bit, and you're going to get into your book. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more and how that came about and what you're doing with it.
Yeah, so let me get back here too. So with the book, it was a very, very fast process, faster than I would have imagined before getting into it. But you know, it was, I think that they had, like I said, kind of Googled paleo pregnancy, reached out to a few people, you know, to try to determine who would be the best fit. You know, they already had this book approved, and they had already pitched it. They needed an author. And they even had already a basic outline, but they have books on every topic, this Everything series. So because I was the expert, they really turned to me and kind of let me take the lead there. So I was able to sort of change the outline, change the chapters, the chapter headings, and kind of make it most appropriate. And I really wanted to make it approachable for beginners, for someone that was new, maybe somebody, you know, they're halfway through their pregnancy and maybe are diagnosed with gestational diabetes. They might not know a lot about healthy eating, so I really wanted to make it pretty basic and approachable for anybody. So it's really a pregnancy book with an emphasis on the paleo diet. So it talks about all the common, you know, pregnancy issues that might come up. You know, it talks about the different trimesters, about different complications that could come up, different ailments, how to handle exercise and sleep, and you know, and even the postpartum period, but just with that emphasis on nutrition and how your nutrition can support all of those different parts of your pregnancy. And then the second half of the book is all recipes, which some I developed just for the book, some are recipes that were already on my website. And so it was a lot of work crammed into, I think, about 3 months. But then, you know, it's opened up other doors for me too. I was able to present at Paleo FX last year, which is a big paleo conference in Austin, Texas. I did a cooking demo of a recipe from the book, and I've done other things like that around town. I've had copies of the book that I can include in giveaways for other websites or here locally. So it's just another way that I'm able to kind of be out there in the community and get my name out there and be sharing, you know, some really good information with people.
No, it's really well done. Thank you. And it's a successful book, and I've sure enjoyed it, and I've recommended it to a number of people. So thanks for that. You shared a number of things that you've done that have helped you gain exposure. Is there anything else that you want to elaborate on that before you go into what you're focusing on post-graduation and connections?
Yeah, so a lot of it I've already gone over, but just like having a blog, there's a lot of Facebook groups that are really helpful to be a part of too, if you do have a blog or a website, or even if you don't, you know, depending on what you're interested in. Like I said, we don't really do paleo per se anymore, but there's, you know, a lot of paleo Facebook groups, and there's one specifically for paleo bloggers. So because I have the blog, I was able to join up with this group we help share each other's work so that new people are connecting with our work that might not otherwise have seen it. Also, for example, as a part of that group, I also have a recipe ebook that I sell on my website, and I was able to make that book a part of a bundle ebook sale that's going on right now, which is just another way I'm able to get my book out into the hands of people that otherwise might not have been able to see it. And it's
Right.
by being a part of these groups that I'm able to find out about things like this. I wouldn't know about things like this. And there's some other ones that I'm a part of, but really, if you're on Facebook, whatever it is that you're interested in, if you're a vegetarian, if you're just interested in real food, maybe you're more interested in, other natural healing modalities, there's always groups that you can become a part of and just start, talking with other people that are interested in the same things that you are, and it's a really helpful thing to do. A lot of bloggers have podcasts, and they'll put out a call to other members in some of these groups that I'm in that they need guests for their podcasts, and so I've been able to be interviewed on podcasts that way. And some of these groups, they're also influencer networks, which when you join, you have the potential to partner with brands and products and kind of share those products through your blog, through your social media, and then you're compensated monetarily for that. Or sometimes they'll just send you the product and ask for you to review it. So it's part of the business side of things as well, but also a part of just being a bigger part of that community, because really just connecting with other people, what I've done locally, what I've done online, has really been the biggest part of getting my business off the ground, and helping me to start focusing my efforts a little bit. Almost all of my one-on-one coaching has been through word-of-mouth referrals, either just from people that know me or from people I've worked with in the past, and also job referrals. The Floyd County Head Start program that I'm currently working with as the nutrition educator, the only reason I have that job is because I was at a health fair and I saw another, I cannot remember where she went to school, but I saw someone else there who had a nutrition degree, and I just went up to her and introduced myself, just because I like to meet other people in the area who are doing the same thing I am or interested in the same thing I am. And a few months later, it turns out she had this position. She didn't have the time to do it anymore, and she referred them to me. And just because she gave me such a good referral, I never even met them before they hired me. We talked on the phone, and she gave me the job, just because I came so highly recommended by the person that was previously in the position. So I just think it's really important to do as much as you can in person, and online if you're online, just really making those connections while you're in school, because it's, I do kind of have my hand in a lot of things right now, because I've only been out of school for a year, and I still don't feel like I'm quite ready to just pick one thing. I'm enjoying all of these things and doing a little bit of everything, and I think as I continue to do that, what is going to be the most beneficial for me is, going to continue to kind of move its way to the top.
Great. Well, this is really important, helpful information. We just have a few minutes left, so I want to be able to have you focus on anything else, your efforts post-graduation and how these connections are helping you, and what's the number one thing you want people to be able to take away from all of this?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, since I graduated, I've been focusing more on my one-on-one coaching. That was something I did hold off on until I had my degree. But you saw I have that available on my website. But like I said, I've really not had anybody come to me just through my website alone. It's really been those word-of-mouth recommendations. I also now have teamed up with our local YMCA, and that all just came about because I was teaching aqua fitness classes there, and I went to the director there and just told her, this is what I'm in school for. I'd love to figure out a way to work together. And at the time, they didn't really see any fit. But when I graduated, I came back and she said, yeah, they've really wanted to have a nutrition coach on staff for a long time, but they just weren't able to get enough signups, and so they can't really pay to have somebody there all the time every week. So now we just do it on an as-needed basis, you know. But if I hadn't kind of been putting myself out there and you know, asking her, then obviously that never would have come to fruition. And I also do some group coaching now. It's a 4 weeks to wellness program that I developed not long after I graduated, actually, and that came about with my CrossFit gym. They wanted to do a nutrition program, and you know, we'd done the talks before, the 1 hour talks, and it just, we wanted to do something a little bigger, something a little deeper, and so I developed this program, which I'll show real quickly just a little bit of, but it came about, I just knew that I wanted to, again, go a little deeper and really help people learn as much as they could, even though, you know, it's only 4 weeks, so I was trying to figure out the best way to approach people. So it's basically 4 weeks, you get a meal plan every week that's emailed to you, and then we had a private Facebook group. So every day in the Facebook group I was posting little tips, which I'll show a few of, but I sent this document before everything started so that they could kind of just wrap their head around how to shop for these different packaged products, because I think that's where people get confused. You know, the basis of it was obviously fruit, vegetables, meats, but you know, we live in the real world, so people aren't going to stop buying these things. So you know, I was trying to guide them there a little bit, and I've since been able to do this with a local hospital. I've done it with the YMCA. We're getting ready to do it again as a sort of summer nutrition program at the YMCA. So I have a little bit of, you know, a promotional flyer that I can give to prospective people that I'm talking to about it. And I'll show just a couple of the, I have these up already, a couple of the images that so I would post things like this in the Facebook group every day. And it was just really, it was a nice place. It was private. It didn't show up in your Facebook feed. And people could just share what they were doing that was working well for them, you know, recipes they liked, any questions they had, challenges that they were having. So some information about reading food labels, all the names for sugar, which I'm sure this isn't all of them, but it's some of them. Sugar withdrawal symptoms.
There's so many, right?
I know. And, you know, little motivational things. So people loved it. I've had a really, really good response. And it's amazing because I charge only $25 for it right now. So, you know, normally to work a month with me would be much, much more than that. So people are able to get me basically for a month for a fraction of what they would pay for one-on-one coaching. So it's been a really great program. You know, I want to maybe start running it online a little bit once I have a little bit bigger audience to do that with. But that's been a really fun program. It always has really good success. You know, people only hate me for like the first week, and then they really like it after that. You know, and I've continued with my freelance writing. I'm actually starting to focus more on that since I know that I'll be home again with a newborn, so I need something that's pretty flexible. So the writing and the blogging are things that I can do, you know, when I have the time. And then I am, like I said, the nutrition educator for the Floyd County Head Start program. And basically with them, they're there for breakfast and lunch every day. So I help to plan the breakfast and lunch menus. I contact the parents of underweight, overweight, and anemic children to discuss with them, you know, things that they can be doing at home, making sure that they're following up with the local clinic or with their physicians. And I plan nutrition education lessons for the students. So we'll do little crafts, or you know, maybe we'll make a healthy snack. So that's been really, really fun.
All right. All right. We've got to wrap this up. I want to be able to save some time for questions, but is there any last things that you want to let people know about your big takeaways for this?
Yeah, really just to put yourself out there. Don't feel like you have to wait until you're out of school to, start getting out there in the community. There's things you can do now while you're still in school, to get your name out there, start being recognized, and start really becoming a member of this health community, a respected member, a knowledgeable member. So having that website, staying active on social media, writing for other publications, talking to members of the community, talking to your friends, talking to your family, just making sure people know what you're interested in, what you're trying to do, offering some free or reduced services just to start being a part of that network. You can join networking groups, or even just, call up or ask to meet for coffee with people who are in a similar area of business as your own, or a complementary business, because you two can help each other out. And I really just also want to emphasize how much choosing Hawthorn has helped me. Like I said, when I went to school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I got a chance to practice and be exposed to a lot of things while I was at Hawthorn. So I got to do some practice one-on-one coaching with my mom and one of my friends. And while I did enjoy it, it kind of opened up to me that, maybe I didn't want that to be the main focus of my business, that there were other things I could do, because I also got to do a lot of writing, a lot of research projects, and I really enjoyed that process as well. So I got a lot of good practice while I was in school. And also through the nutrition education degree, I was able to gain an understanding of the ways in which people learn, how people are most receptive to information and to behavior change. And that's really helped me with my coaching, with my group classes, and even with what I'm doing at the Head Start program.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fantastic what you've been able to do. I'm thrilled that Hawthorne's been able to support you in this. But you're really a strong testament, Tarah, that if you'd have just taken your education and not spoken up and not put yourself out there, all these opportunities wouldn't be in your lap, and you wouldn't be making this kind of an influence in your community and beyond right now. So
Right.
it's taken you, taking what you know and what you love and putting it out there and letting other people know.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, pretty much everything I'm doing is all because of networking locally or online.
All right. Well, let's open up for some questions. Are you ready for that?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, great. Um, you talked about recipes on your blog, and the question is how you handle the recipe portion. Do you worry that the recipe is too close to someone else's? Do you ever use other people's recipes and just credit them? How do you handle that?
That is a really, really good question. First of all, I don't worry about it, mostly because I think at this point there's really nothing new under the sun. Except I did see a big article about a rainbow grilled cheese last week. Maybe nobody's done that before, but I don't know if that's real food or not, though. But I mean, I just think any recipe that you write, somebody probably has done something super similar. So I just feel good myself knowing that I came up with something on my own and that I did not purposely take it from anybody. And I've been doing this for almost 5 years now, and I've never run into any issue where there was any type of conflict like that. I myself have not adapted any recipe, but I do see on a lot of websites, and it's a pretty common practice, and most people are completely fine with it, that if you find a recipe you really love, but you're like, oh, I could do this a little bit differently, or I would use this meat, or I would add, this vegetable, whatever it is, you can do that, and then just somewhere in your article or in your recipe, make sure you're saying adapted from whoever it is, and then make sure you're linking back to that original recipe, and that's all that most people ask for.
It helps them a lot, that you're linked to them, so they're credited. It drives the people back to their site, so
Right.
they're happy about that. And like you say, you're still talking about food and how to tweak it a little bit. So
Right.
good advice there. You also talked about when you were reviewing products. I'd like some clarification about that. What was the place for reviewing products? And
Well, I'm a part of a couple of different networks. So one, for example, is Fitfluential. So like influential, but Fitfluential. And it's something that bloggers can sign up for. And then every week they'll put out an email to all of us of different companies that are looking to connect with bloggers to, promote their products. So, and I really like this format because I would only sign up for things that aligned with what I'm already doing on my website and things that I would promote anyway. So, if they had, I can't even, sometimes they'll have maybe a protein bar that, obviously is not really what I'm telling people to do. So that's not something that I would promote on my website. But trying to think of one I've done recently, there was a soup company called True Primal. And, they wanted to get more information out in the community about their soups. So they, would send you soup, and then you can charge a fee to write about it, and then you can write about it on your website, and a lot of times there's a giveaway involved with that, so you can give some away to people. And there's I obviously only know about the health-related ones, but I imagine that there's similar types of networks for any industry that you're in. But it's a good way to have that blog be a part of your business, to have it be a money-making part of your business. And because I only promote things that I would use anyway or consume anyway, I feel good about sharing that with my community.
okay, great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And this comes back to your Head Start and YMCA. Karen's asking if you have any challenges with getting in the door at Head Start and YMCA without having an RD license, because she's been rejected from public and government facilities in the past. So wondering what your experience is here.
Yeah, with the Head Start program, I was very careful when that opportunity came up. I specifically asked them, did it need to be a registered dietitian that was on staff? And so they checked with who they needed to check with. And in this situation, it didn't need to be. The fact that I had a master's in nutrition education was enough to fulfill their requirements. But yeah, I've had similar things come up in the past where, maybe I started to talk to somebody about an opportunity, but they needed to have a registered dietitian. And, I understand that, especially when you get into government stuff.
Sure.
It's just, you can't work around those type of things. And, it's just a part of what we work with. So, but at the Y, I think because, they call me a nutrition coach, and, it's something that, and especially with my 4 Weeks to Wellness program that I do there, they basically just help me promote the program. I run all of it through my website, through my own social media. It's not done through their website or anything like that. So I don't know if that helps with that at all, but I would imagine too that every branch of the YMCA is probably a little bit different too, just with what they do in-house, since it's just for this particular branch, and not for a larger part of the YMCA. I don't know if that helps with it, but I've had the opposite happen before too, where I checked into something and it had to be a registered dietitian. So it's kind of just taking the good with the bad and finding what works.
Yeah, well, it's all good, and you've gotten to two very significant doors here with Head Start and YMCA in your community, and to be working with 4- and 5-year-olds around food and lifestyle is just brilliant. I'm so grateful for you in Indiana. Not I have to put that. You are in Indiana in Head Start and YMCA and doing these programs, and so since I come from Indiana, I can I can speak to the challenges there. But no, I'm just thrilled with everything that you've done, what you're able to do, what you've brought to the table here today. Last question here. Do you have your own podcast?
I don't. I'm not sure if I'm ready for any other regularly scheduled commitments at this point, which is the main reason I haven't done it. I've talked about it before. I actually asked somebody at one point if they wanted to do one with me, and oddly enough, they had just, like the week before, I think, decided with another friend of theirs to do one. And didn't know this at all, and I barely knew her. I just thought that we, would really work well together and that we would both enjoy it. So I've thought about it before, but now that I'm back home again with my son and have another one on the way, I don't know if I want to add in something that has to be done at a certain time every week and published at a certain time every week. But it's not off the table. I would definitely, I like that. I love listening to podcasts, so I really like that means of communication, and I would definitely be open to doing it in the future.
Right. I bet if you didn't have child number 2, your answer to that would be a little bit different. But,
yes, but
priorities are priorities, right? And you're having your first child, it's very revealing of what reality is. So
yes, I know my schedule is about to not be my own again, so I'm fine with that.
Well, thank you so much for all of this information. I'm inspired. I hope everybody else has learned a lot here. And just thank you for taking the time and showing up and giving back to Hawthorn and letting other people know how they can be successful too.
Thank you. Yeah, it was my pleasure. Like I said at the beginning, I do get asked a lot about, where I went to school and, what I would recommend. And I always recommend Hawthorn to people. I have lots of good things to say, so I'm very happy to be able to share some about my experience.
All right. Well, I hope that everybody will meet me back here again and also help spread the word about our next All About Alumni. On June 1st, we have Jenny Yelly with us, and she's going to be sharing about designing and managing a successful website. Au Natural Nutrition is Jenny Yelly. She's an MH&E graduate also of Hawthorn, and I hope you'll join me. That's Wednesday, June 4th. June 1st at 12 Pacific time. So it'll be a great story. I look forward to sharing it all with you. And until then, I wish you all the best of health, and I hope you take good care.